this video, I'm going to explain to you about learning first language. The definition of first learning language is language comes from the hearing, and then you can produce it by environment. You can implement your environment. And every country has a different first language. For example, Bahasa Indonesia comes from Indonesia, and English comes from England, and also Malay comes from Malaysia. So they have a different first language. And then your first language is called the mother tongue. Because why? Because it's in Thailand called Umi language, but in English called first language. Such as Bahasa Indonesia, it is my first language. And how to develop it? How to develop? The first is about symbol. I will give the example. When you are a baby, when you feel hungry, absolutely what you want to say is only crying. Because of that, your mother knows that you are hungry or you are thirsty. This is about the symbol, the first language. And then, bubbling. Bubbling is that you just revise what you have learned before. For example, your mother asks you about mama, papa, something like that. You just revise it. This is called bubbling. And then, okay, if the baby already 12 months, they can try to produce the word something like mama, lapar in Bahasa Indonesia. This is 12 months. They try to produce something like mama, lapar in Bahasa Indonesia. This is 12 months. They try to produce the word something like that. And then, if only 2 years is old, baby, you produce more than 50 words. They can produce many words, more than 50 words at least. This because it's already 2 years, so it means that she or he can produce the other languages. It's Java, Japanese, or something like that. And, okay, if more than 2 years, they can improve their languages more than 50 words, more than 200 words, such as they can speak like us, but it's not well because they are still learning. Maybe it's about R, the pronunciation, something like that. And also, the next is about the rule of first language. The rule of first language absolutely is how to inquire the languages. It's something like when you are learning about the second language, how to inquire it. I have a friend in here, it's from Egypt. When he say water, he say water, or something like that. It's very difficult to him to say that. It means that the pronunciation is involved about the rule of the rule of first language, something like that. And then transfer language. How to transfer your language? How to communicate the language from here? They cannot speak English, so I have to use their language. How to transfer the language? Transfer can be two. The first, positive or negative. Positive, it means that when you are in a good habit environment, so you can be positive transfer. I think like it's very polite to say that. For example, if I live in Java, I was born in Java, so the way how to use the language is very polite. When you talk to the old people, you have to say that sorry, or we have to look down, look back, something like that. Or when you want to talk with your friends, it means like you have many abilities there, and many politeness over that. So that transfer language is found with your environment, negative environment. And the second is about the negative environment. When you get used to speaking about accent like in America accent, it's mean that it's a little bit unpolite because I will take the example something like this. How are you doing? Something like that. This for them it's okay, but for the other people it's unpolite. This is why it's called how to listen. Regarding environment, it's a behavior, something like that. So it means that the rule of the second language, there are some that involved in this. First is the acquire the language, and the second is how to transfer your language. But to get all the transfer language, there are two. That is first is about what skill, negative behavior. Like that. Thank you very much. This is about my explanation about learning first language. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Yusuf Mansa and I'm from TBIT 5th semester. Here I would like to make video and I will say something, explain something in this video. It is about individual differences in second language learning. Okay, just go on. I will explain 3 parts. There are language aptitude, motivation, and learning strategies. Okay, for language aptitude, there are 4 elements that should be included in language aptitude. There are phonemic coding ability, including to identify the sounds for students, like when the first time they can spelling it very well. So how about the 1, 2, or 3 days later, or a month, a year later, they can spelling it very well also, like number 1, like the first time when they speak. For number 2, grammatical certify. It is to recognize grammatical function in sentence, because when the students can say something, can say a sentence or say like anything, and they write like anything, it is related with the second language for them, how they can be the best, how they can do it very well with the grammatical certify, with the right grammatical for them. Okay, for number 2, inductive language ability. Inductive language ability is also to identify the pattern of considerance. The pattern of considerance, like when they say something, which is the pattern is bad, which is the pattern is good, and I can improve from it to be very well. For number 4, role learning ability. That's for the form remember association between stimuli. Between stimuli here, like it is the students can be consistent or just upside down, up to down, up to down. That it is stimuli for them. How the student can be consistent when they have learning. Okay, from the point B, from point 2, this motivation. You know that motivations can from outside and can from inside. Can outside, like their own environment, their family, their friends, or another thing. From the inside, like when they listen something, they can be more motivating for them. Okay, for motivation, I also have 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. It is not ring. Okay, just my skin. From the first, instrumental motivation. Instrumental motivation also has function, and when the students has a goal, or like functional goal, like when they want to find a job, they want to pass the exam, or they have to make a deal with somebody else. That's about instrumental motivation. For the number 2, interrogative motivation. It is different with the number 1, with the point number 1, because interrogative motivation it's occur to identify with the culture second language. So when they learn about second language, which is the difficulties, which is the weaknesses, which is the strengths, it is about culture in second language. They can identify it by their own selves. For number 3, resultative motivation. Resultative motivation also related with the motivation by their own insight, by their own motivational. When they motivated when they have motivation, they can improve their own selves, because they know what they have to do. But when they do not have motivation, they can improve their own selves, because they don't have, because they do know what they have to do to improve their own skills. Okay, for number 4, for the last one is intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation also related with the number 1, 2, and 3, because it is also related also with the reward internal by their own. Reward internal here, like when they with the first process, with the next level, the ACS1, ACS2, ACS3, up to the next level, to the very difficult for them, which is the result. When they see the result, which is the reward of them, what is the result is good, what is the result is bad, the students can know by that point. Okay, for the last point, it's about learning strategies. Actually, learning strategies is based on the teachers, how the teachers apply the strategy to teach, to educate the students. From learning strategies, there are 3 kinds, like cognitive, metacognitive, and also social. Cognitive, the teachers can analyze, synthesis, and transformation strategies. analyze the students, analyze the materials to teach to the student, and after that they can transformation, like give something, give knowledge, say something, explain, and also give the test, and also the teacher can know what is the result from the students. And for number 2, metacognitive, also almost same with the number 1, and it has a difference, like planning, monitoring, and also evaluating, because in the second one, metacognitive, the teachers can make a plan and say something, gives materials to the students, and also for the last one, to evaluate, which is the result, which is the result test of the students. And the last one is about social. Now, social here means that the teachers can give a chance to the students to make a relationship, to make speak something with the other speakers, because from that one, it is also related with the second language. The students can improve their own skills by a social relationship with others. Okay, just go on. Thank you so much for your watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I want to sleep because it is midnight. Thank you so much.
Hello guys. Hello, my name is Bagus Prakoso. I'm from D class. I'm going to explain about the nature of learner's language. Okay, the nature of learner's language is about errors and lies. The first time is describing errors. There are 2 ways to describe the errors. The first is try to identify general ways in which learners' utterance differ from the reconstructed target language utterance. And second is classify errors into grammatical categories. Errors occur due to lacks knowledge. Learners doing some things, and the learners do not know the what is right, but it's different between errors and mistake. There are 2 ways to know it. Errors occur due to lack of knowledge of the learners in doing something, and the learners do not know what is right. It has difference between errors and mistakes. There are two ways to know it. Okay, the first, ask the learners or students to correct their own deviant utterance. If they are animals, so they definitions are errors. If they are successful, they are mistakes. And the next explanation is about explaining errors. There are three types to explaining errors. The first is errors of over generalizations. It means error in thinking or reasoning. And second is transfer errors. It means using L1 knowledge. And the last is error of omissions. It occurs when something has been left out. And the next is about errors evaluations. It's about global errors and local errors. Global errors is about violate the overall structure of sentence, and the local errors is about only a single constituents in the sentence.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will present SLA Chapter 4, the language of learner the nature of learner language. Okay, this sub-bab A is error and error analysis. Identifying error. Usually error often occur because students don't know which part is correct. It happens because in certain case students cannot do what they want and they only do what they think is right and do not know the rules of way right rules and become benchmark. It's a difference between error and mistake. And way to distinguishing error and mistake. Ask learner to try correct their own deviant utterance. If they are unable to definition or error, if they sexual, they are mistake. And then second, check the consistency of learner performance. If they consistently do the same thing, which is not true, this indicates a lack of knowledge and error. Number 2, describing error. Every student will certainly be confused to tell which mistakes are only misunderstood in doing something. There are several ways to describe and classify error in two types. A. To classify error in grammatical category. Then B. To try to identify general ways in which learner differ from reconstructed target language. Number 3. Explain error. The process of identifying and describing an error is perimeter of for much more interesting tasks to try to explain why it happened. Error of omission, it happened when something has been left out. And B. Error in thinking of reason. And C. Transfer error using first language and knowledge. And number 4. Error evaluation. Global error means violate the overall structure of the sentence, and B. Local error means affect only single constituent in the sentence. D. Developmental parents. We can explore and find out what's good and about the university of acquisition by checking the pattern of development that students follow. First, the early stage of the acquisition. Learners learn about the language by listening or reading. Students talk to themselves when they refuse to talk to other people, and they can improve their language skill. Second, the order of acquisition strengthens that they will learn their second language after they get their first language and have mastered it. And third, sequence of acquisition at the first student can display a high level accuracy only to appear to be reaching later. And then C, variability in learner language. Systematic meaning occur in natural language. Student language is not different. Mapping of certain form made by student is not always accordant with what is found in target language, and in this case, it's always different between students because they have the ability to process a language. First, learners vary in their use of the second language according to linguistic content. Number 2, learners also vary the linguistic forms they use in accordance with the situational content. And number 3, learners vary their use of the language with psychological content maybe. Okay, I think it's enough for my explanation. If I have mistake from few, so I'm so sorry. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, in this moment, I want to explain you guys about interlanguage. Do you know about interlanguage? So, interlanguage is the gap between the first language and the target language, and in this case, my first language or my mother tongue is Indonesian and my target language is English. So, interlanguage itself is created by linguist from the United States named Larry Selinker. So, the distance between student language is a unique linguistic system. What is that? So, interlanguage, our first language or mother tongue influence the target language, and it means the student only comprehend the style of the first language and try to imitate their comprehend to their target language, and then it can be show up and the teacher can see in two ways or some ways, and I will give you 2 ways in this moment. And the first is when they talk, the teacher will know whether the student produce the interlanguage or not. And then the second is from their writing. So when the student have interlanguage, then the teacher will be comprehend or know whether the student do it or not. So what is interlanguage? I will give you example. So interlanguage itself have 2 transfer divided into 2 types. The first is the positive transfer, and the second one is the negative transfer. What is that? What is the positive and what is the negative? So the positive one, the positive transfer it means the style is similar. The first language style and the target language style is similar. It has similarity. What is the example? So in bahasa, in my first language, in my mother tongue, I will give this sentence. Saya punya 2 mobil. And in my target language, which is English, I would say I punya have 2 dan mobil car. So the style or the style is similar. So the student would be more easily when they have like assignment or something like that, and the style is like this, so the teacher will not like will not detect the interlanguage. But when the student use the negative transfer, so the style, the first language style and the target language style is so different. Like I would say in a sentence, in a simple sentence is rumah bagus in a bahasa. Rumah is house and bagus is beautiful. So this is interlanguage, and this is will be easily for the teacher to detect the interlanguage because the style is so different, and we as the teacher will be easily to point out that is interlanguage like that. I will give an example like in bahasa is anak buah, but the student maybe will say in English like child fruit like that. So that is interlanguage. And then I would say tidak in bahasa tidak apa-apa. In English they will say like no father like that. So yeah, interlanguage. Sorry. In conclusion, so interlanguage is the gap between the first language and the target language like that. So interlanguage is have this place the center between the first language and the target language like that. So thank you. That's all for my explanation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello guys, my name is Savitri Hidayah, and in this occasion I would like to tell you about observing, learning and teaching in second language classroom. My friends in the previous video told us that second language is like our nation language. So like the example of from me, I have my mother tongue, and then my mother tongue is Japanese language because my environment taught about Japanese, speak with Japanese, sorry. And then my second language is Indonesian. So this is in this video I would like to tell you about what should we do during observing, learning and teaching in second language classroom. So there are 12 characteristics of second language learning. First is innate learning processor, and then the second is natural communication. Third is comprehend the content, and then the next is a silent space, and then the effective screening, and then differences between child and adult, and then learners first language, of course. Then next is uniformity and predictability, and then next is conscious learning, and then the number 10 is before puberty, and then relax and self-confidence, and then the last is they should identify. What I mean they is the learners. And then of course, when we are understand about 12 characteristics of second language learning, we should understand too about teaching guideline. There are 10 teaching guidelines. And then, okay, number 1 is maximize the students' exposure to natural communication. And then the second is incorporate in silence phase of the beginning of your instructional program. And then after that, use the new reference to make language understandable for beginning students. And then devise specific technique to relax the students and protect their egos. Then include some time formal grammar lesson for adult. Then learn motivation of your student and cooperate this knowledge into your lesson. And then create new atmosphere where your students are not embarrassed when they have a mistakes. And if you teach with dialogue, include correct. If you teach speaking, use included correct and social useful phrase. And then certain structure tend to teach learning. Okay, and then the last is do not refer to students first language their first language when teaching the second language. So thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dina Alansa Isabella. I'm from class D. And now I want to explain about second language learning in classroom. There are 6 proposals for second and foreign language teaching in the classroom. First is getting right from the beginning. 2. Just listen and read. 3. Let's talk. 4. Get to for 1. 5. Teach what is the teachable. And last, get it right in the end. Okay, I want to explain about get it right from the beginning. The result of this study prove that students benefit for communicative practice and the emphasis on understanding and expressing meaning. And I want to explain about just listen and read. Comprehensible input is essential for understanding the meaning. It suggests that drills and practice are not necessary to learn a language, and learners do not need to speak. So, next, let's talk. Let's focus on the meaning, like grammar mistake, like that. And for get to for 1, they can develop but their academic skills and second language abilities. 5. Teach what is teachable. Manfred Freeman said that some things can be taught successfully, where on other things even after expensive or intensive teaching, expensive and intensive teaching. And the last is get it right in the end. In terms of error correction, errors are care explicitly. Thank you very much. Salah anjir.